No, I have tabled the letters appointing the majority leader and the deputy majority leader, Honorable Speaker. And those letters are accompanied by the...
Yes, Junet. What's your point of order?
Of course, I behave like somebody who has been here before. Mr. Speaker, I didn't want to interrupt you. I wanted to bring to your attention that when a member is tabling a document, Mr. Speaker, he does it himself. It's procedural. He can't give it to someone, go and table for me. So on the records, it will be tabled by the other member and not him. So, I know he has been busy in the campaign.
No. Honorable Speaker, I stand guided, but I think I appointed somebody, of course, to become my handsman for just this particular session, but they are adequately tabled as guided. But if you so wish, of course, I can have them back and then table it myself.
Go on.
Exactly. But they are well tabled, Honorable Junet. Honorable Speaker, the tabled documents or the tabled letters annexed with are with the resolutions and the minutes from the Kenya Kwanza Coalition. What you will note in those resolutions, and even the attendees of that list, as indicated in the entire list, is that in the minutes, people who attended the meeting that appointed Honorable Ishungu as the majority leader, the members that attended are about 179, drawn from different parties. And if you'll allow me, Honorable Speaker, in the attendance, UDA had 145, UDM had 8, PA had 3, MCCP had 2 in that meeting, MDG had 1, ANC 8, Ford Kenya 6, TSP 2, BP 1, CCM 1, NAP Kenya 1, and GDDP 1. In total, Honorable Speaker, those are 179 members. Honorable Speaker, in the past 1 week, I've been very busy also, receiving several members of this House, requesting me to place them in committees, some of which are independent members of Parliament. In total, possibly they could be 10. So today, we are talking about 189 members associating themselves with the Kenya Kwanza Coalition and, of course, clearly describing our majority in terms of numbers. Honorable Speaker, if this was a marriage that you are called to be a vicar, then clearly the consummation of marriage happened in Naivasha. A child was born, and actually not 1, not 2, but 4, Honorable Speaker. And now you are being invited today to make a determination on which particular spouse a certain spouse wants. A marriage is claimed to have taken place about 2 months ago or thereabout, and there is a spouse who feels, I don't belong here, and is decided to go this other direction. And that spouse is equipped with the Constitution of Kenya, Article 38, Article 36, on the rights of association. Honorable Speaker, even a first-year student knows that a contractual agreement entered under coercion and threats is a nullity, and you cannot validate it, Honorable Speaker, even from your seat. Any agreement that is entered at night, entered through blackmail and coercion, is a nullity. Today, I challenge the Honorable Junet, who, of course, is salivating for my majority whip seat, to table before you a resolution by the Azimio coalition party today with a list of members who have appended their signatures in attendance of that particular meeting, a resolution and minutes of that particular meeting, and not mere statements that we are the numbers, we are the majority. At some point, of course, we were together, and now, of course, we had a coalition agreement. Honorable Speaker, you and I know, as legal practitioners, that any law, any legislation, or any agreement that contravenes the supreme law of the land, and that is the Constitution, is null and void. Our Constitution, Honorable Speaker, is supreme. Article 36 provides for rights of association. You cannot force MDG to go in bed with you. They do not want. And they are protected by Article 36. You can't force them. You cannot force independence. You cannot force Maendeleo Chap Chap to go in bed with you. You cannot use a mere paper that you coerced members to sign, that you've got to be with us. You signed this paper. Those people are protected. Those members are protected under Article 36 and Article 38. Honorable Speaker, the invitation you are being called upon to determine on a mere paper, on a mere agreement, that even the contents to which were not shared to those people who signed is wrong. Please decline that invitation. The majority coalition is Kenya Kwanza. And the right of association cannot be downplayed by a mere agreement. Honorable Speaker, the third point that, as you retire to make your determination, that you need to relook at is the provision of Article 108 on the definition of what a political party is. Honorable Speaker, by all standards, from whichever angle you look at, you choose to look at this whole thing, the definition of Azimio as it stands now is simply Azimio Coalition Party. It stands with the same level. It positions itself with the same level as ODM, as UDA, as Maendeleo Chap Chap, and all these other parties. And today, Honorable Speaker, if you call for account the members of Azimio Coalition Party here in this House, you'll get none. There is only one member of Azimio Coalition Party, as provided, if you go by the definition of Article 108(2), and that is the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. All the rest are members of parties, including myself. I'm a member of UDA. The Honorable Junet is a member of ODM, who enjoy a sizable number of these in this House. They are only 88. And I also want to echo the sentiments of my colleague, Honorable Ishungwa, when he said that they've also been very fair to award or to give, to share their very small, meager cake to their short brothers, to their brothers who don't deserve, the Wiper and the other parties. Honorable Speaker, we challenge them today.
Yes, the Honorable, yes, Honorable Mbui.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry to stand to interrupt his debate, but Mr. Speaker, honestly, is it parliamentary for us, for the member of parliament, to belittle political parties that are actually parliamentary parties because they already have hit the 5% threshold that the standing orders define? So, Mr. Speaker, I want to ask that the member respect this party and withdraw those statements.
Honorable Speaker,
Yes.
for clarity purposes, what I meant is Wiper is short in number. They're actually very short in this House. That was my description. So, as I wind up, Honorable Speaker,
Your time is up.
that is
Wind
all,
up.
Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Okay. The Honorable Junet, 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from the onset, I want to say that I want to congratulate you first for being elected as a Speaker, but secondly, Mr. Speaker, we are a country that is governed by the Constitution and the rule of law. Mr. Speaker, you know, and members know very well, that we have, as a country, decided to govern our, Mr. Speaker, as a country, we have decided to manage our politics in a certain way, legally, Mr. Speaker. And I know, Mr. Speaker, that we did an amendment to the Political Parties Act here. And as alluded to by Honorable Ishungwa, it may have been as acrimonious as possible. But, Mr. Speaker, the law was passed. The law was assented to. And some of their architects might be even in this House with us. But anyway, that's a story for another day, Mr. Speaker. The law was assented to, Mr. Speaker, and the law was passed. And the law was taken to the Constitutional Court. by a private citizen. And the court affirmed that the law was enacted constitutionally, Mr. Speaker. Having said, Mr. Speaker, that, and numbers were raised here, and voting was done, and everything was done. But, Mr. Speaker, the issue I want to raise here is that in governing our politics, we decided to have pre-election coalitions and post-election coalitions, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what we are discussing here are members of parties that made a pre-election coalition agreement, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, that agreement was registered with the political parties registrar. And Mr. Speaker, when I finish my presentation, I want to table that coalition agreement, Mr. Speaker. It is with me here. And all those parties have signed, Mr. Speaker, through their signatures, Mr. Speaker, in a broad daylight, in a ceremony that was held at KICC, Mr. Speaker. Those who are saying it was at night, maybe that time they were campaigning somewhere. But the ceremony, Mr. Speaker, started at 9 a.m. in the morning and ended at 3 a.m. And we went to a rally in Jacaranda after that until 6 p.m., Mr. Speaker, 3 p.m. And all these parties, WIPA, Kenya African Union, KANU, National Rainbow Coalition, National NARC Kenya, Muungano Party, this is Maendeleo Chap, Mr. Speaker. They have signed here with their secretary, Mr. Wilfred Sijui Nyamu, Mr. Speaker, Democratic Action Party, Devolution, all of them signed here, Mr. Speaker. And I want to table this agreement, Mr. Speaker. And Ochieng Party, Mr. Speaker, MDG, signed here. And I know why he signed, Mr. Speaker, but that's a story for another day. Mr. Speaker, we must respect our laws, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you yourself, you are a party leader, Mr. Speaker, before the election. And you decided on your own volition, you want to have, your party wants to have a pre-election coalition agreement with another coalition, Mr. Speaker. And those parties should have followed you suit, Mr. Speaker. You cannot, Mr. Speaker, break a marriage, just to pick from where Honorable Osoro left. You cannot engage in another marriage, Mr. Speaker, and marry another person before you divorce the first one, Mr. Speaker. And when you want to divorce, there is a divorce procedure to follow, Mr. Speaker. You must divorce procedurally, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what I want to say is that, Mr. Speaker, this pre-election coalition agreement is in force, Mr. Speaker. It is registered. This country has left the era when coalition agreements used to be rubbish the way they want, Mr. Speaker. That is what made the Political Parties Act to bring provisions that make sure that coalition agreements are held against the people who signed for it, Mr. Speaker. You remember the MOUs that were signed in 2002, the MOUs that were signed. When the new constitution came, this parliament, in its own wisdom, passed the Political Parties Act and said that you have to deposit the agreement with the registrar of political parties. If you want to exit this coalition agreement, there are exit clauses you have to follow. There are clauses that allow you to exit, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, more importantly, the parties that claim to have left this coalition, Mr. Speaker, have written to me as a Secretary General of Azimio. They have petitions. They are saying after that they are going to the Constitutional Court to get an order to get out of the coalition, that is the right route. If they knew they can walk in and walk out as they wish, why are they deciding to go to court? They should have just walked away like somebody who's in a supermarket, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is either, when we came here, Mr. Speaker, we swore to uphold and defend the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. That is the oath of office we took. And the Constitution demands us to respect instruments of legal nature like this that you have committed to yourself to, Mr. Speaker. If you want to walk out of it the way you want, that's your choice. But the fact of the matter is, this country will be governed by the rule of law. This country will be governed by the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, how do we have a mature democracy? Mr. Speaker, this presidential system that we are using to govern our country, we borrowed from the United States of America. Mr. Speaker, there are times when the president of the Republic of Kenya does not have the numbers in the Congress, but he does not cease being the president of that republic. They have midterm elections where the president loses the Congress. Obama lost it in 2015, I think, but he did not cease being the president of the Republic of the United States of America. Mr. Speaker, it doesn't mean that for you to become president, you must have the numbers in parliament. No. Parliament is a separate arm of government. Mr. Speaker, you can still remain the president and you still don't have numbers in the National Assembly, maybe you have the numbers in the Senate. That is how mature democracies operate, Mr. Speaker. This, Mr. Speaker, you can get numbers in Parliament through election. You cannot get members of Parliament through poaching, Mr. Speaker. That's a fact of the matter, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we want to categorically say on the floor of this House, the precedents we are going to set this Parliament, in this Parliament, this time, is going to be for posterity, because we are going to have elections in 2027. A president might be elected who is going to have less numbers in the National Assembly. Then he wants to force people to accept that he's the majority party in Parliament because he's the president. No, the presidential election is separate from the parliamentary election, Mr. Speaker. People can be elected in one party, in one coalition, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, let us not mutilate democracy on the floor of this House, Mr. Speaker. We must accept that the will of the people of Kenya, who elected the president as the president, must be respected as the will of the people who gave certain coalition and certain party the majority in this House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am being told that Azimio la Umoja, one party, has no leadership in this House. Their presidential candidate is in this House. The leader of the Kenya Kwanza is not in this House, Mr. Speaker. He is sitting in State House. He's the president, he is in State House. He's not in this House with us. So there is no requirement the leader of a coalition must be in this House, Mr. Speaker. The leader of the coalition can sit anywhere in town so long as his troops and his members of Parliament are in this House, Mr. Speaker. You cannot, then let us have the president here sitting with us, Mr. Speaker, as the leader of the Kenya Kwanza coalition, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we don't want even ourselves as Azimio la Umoja to be given a due advantage. If we had less numbers, Mr. Speaker, the will of the people, these parties that joined Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, Mr. Speaker, came knowing very well that they are in this coalition in their rightful state of mind, Mr. Speaker, and the people who elected them to this House knew very well that they are in that coalition, Mr. Speaker. It will be betrayal of the people who elected those people in the name of Azimio, Mr. Speaker, for them to come to Nairobi, for them to come to the Parliament and change course, Mr. Speaker. That is not the democracy we want to advance in this country, Mr. Speaker. Let us have clean, let us have politics that follows the law, Mr. Speaker. Let us have politics that respects institutions, Mr. Speaker. For example, just wait for question. Mr. Speaker, the registrar of political society, or political party, Mr. Speaker, has this document.
Point of order, Honorable Junet.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Point of order, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to know, Mr. Speaker, is it in order, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, standing order number 1, Mr. Speaker, which state claims, Mr. Speaker, that Honorable Junet Mohammed, Mr. Speaker, correct, the Speaker, should Junet Mohammed, Mr. Speaker, lie to the House that he is the director of elections in ODM and again a Secretary General of Azimio la Umoja as a party, Mr. Speaker? One must pay allegiance to one political party. Can you tell us, Mr. Speaker, which position he holds in both Azimio and ODM? And a promoter of BBI, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I know.
Honorable Junet, your time is up. I give you 30 seconds to...
Mr. Speaker, to conclude my submission, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this Parliament has a date with destiny, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
The way we rule on this matter, Mr. Speaker, will determine the way our politics will be conducted going forward. So, Mr. Speaker, I urge you, with humility, have fidelity to the Constitution and the law. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Duale.
Mr. Speaker, today is a day that I will remember. Early this year, we had the Political Parties Amendment Bill, very chaotic, and Mr. Speaker, the CS until I am approved by this august House. Mr. Speaker, I remember, and the answer will prove me right. I told my colleagues then that don't make laws that will haunt you. And there are people who are running away from that chaos. As they say, Murive, don't run. Murive, don't run. Junet and his colleagues, don't run. This matter must be decided this afternoon. And Mr. Speaker, your predecessors have decided more complex issues. I was with you in the 10th Parliament, during the Grand Coalition government, where the leader of government business used to be the chair of the House Business Committee. And when the Vice President, then Honorable Kwanza Musyoka, and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga argued who will chair, Speaker Marende took over. So, Mr. Speaker, in the legislature, you are the arbiter. You should not be referred to anything. Listen to us, and based on law and facts and evidence. So, Speaker, what my colleagues, our opponents, are going through is what the medical doctors call placebo. Placebo is something, a lie, a healing. You claim that you have healed psychologically, but you have not healed. So in in March of this year, early this year, the Speaker, you know we are not in Isli, where me and him talk to each other like that. We are in the guest house, the Speaker. Yeah. When we are in Isli, we can talk to you right the way we want. Yeah, this is a guest house. Yes. Mr. Speaker, so Mr. Speaker, they thought this was the healing. The healing time is over. But Mr. Speaker, I want you to rule on 6 things I want to tell you. And Mr. Speaker, and I want to start with Article 2 of the Constitution, sub-Article 4 says, any law, including customary law, that is inconsistent with this Constitution is void to the extent of the inconsistency, and any act or commission in contravention of this Constitution is invalid. Even an act of Parliament passed by this House, if it is not consistent with this Constitution, it is null and void. Mr. Speaker, Article 36 of the Constitution, and Article 36 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, is on the Bill of Rights. It's about human rights. It says the freedom of association. Speaker, you have to give me my time then, you know, I'm a disruptor.
Give him the mic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Watch.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Is it in order that the former majority leader misleads this House by giving the impression that the question of constitutionality or anality is a question that can be determined otherwise than by a court of law? We can have our own interpretations, we can have our own thinking of what is constitutional or not, but this is a question that can only be determined by a court of law. Is it in order?
Mr. Speaker, in this august House, you are the arbiter. You are the ones who decide. Those who go to the judicial system, to the courts, you can go, as Honorable Wandai said. So, Mr. Speaker, Article 36 is in the Bill of Rights. For even to amend it, you must go to a referendum. It's about freedom of association. And it says that you can join, you can participate in any activity of any association of your kind. 36(2) says that nobody can compel you to join. Mr. Speaker, PA, MDG, and I want to thank the leader of MDG, is in this House. He is a leader to be watched in Luo Nyanza. He's a serious guy. He came to this House with a small party in Siaya, from Siaya County. He must enjoy his rights, Mr. Speaker. The framers of the Constitution protected MDG. The framers of the Constitution, both in letter and spirit, protected PA as a party and its membership, rank and file. Article 38, Mr. Speaker, and you must rule on it. Again, in the Bill of Rights, it's about human rights. It says on political rights that provides political rights of every person, including members of PA, members of MDG, members of small parties. Mandela Chap, they have got political rights, and the Constitution under Article 38 defense. Mr. Speaker, a legal document signed, and I'm sure when you talk to the Speaker of the Senate, your colleague, you talk to the Foreign Secretary nominee, they will tell you they signed the last page under coercion, under intimidation. Mr. Speaker, do you follow that document? Mr. Speaker, let me finish. Let me finish here this time. Mr. Speaker, let me finish. And you have to give me time.
Yes, the Honorable Chege.
I'll prove, I'll bring you not here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, Mr. Speaker, I respect Honorable Duale as a ranking member. And any evidence that he gives to this House must be factual. So for him to come and lie to this House that people signed under coercion, it is really very unfortunate, Mr. Speaker. And I would like, Mr. Speaker, that we strict ourselves to the facts. We have people who are here, Mr. Speaker.
They will speak.
Who signed, they can speak on their
Yes.
behalf and on themselves. And so I would really urge Honorable Member, Honorable
Thank you,
Duale, to
Mr.
just
Speaker.
speak the facts.
Mr. Speaker, you need to add me time. Mr. Speaker, in this House, Mr. Speaker, my good sister, Sabina Chege, at that time was the custodian of the instruments. Honorable Ochieng will speak. Honorable Kamket will speak. Members of PA will speak. Members of Mandela Chap will speak. And they will say under what condition, under what environment they signed. And the people of Kenya must hear to David Ochieng. And Mr. Speaker, because a commission of inquiry into certain things might be formed. So relax. Mr. Speaker, listen to us under Article 36, Sub-Article 1, Article 36, Sub-Article 2, Sub-Article 38 on political rights. Mr. Speaker, the other thing you need to, I'm inviting you to is whether Azimio coalition is a political party or a coalition party. And Mr. Speaker, I want to give as a ranking member. These are members who will approve me. And please, now I'm the member for township. In fact, the serious issue Azimio should think about is that they will not access the political party's fund. And I'll tell you why. The 6.9 million votes, Honorable Raila Odinga, a man who inducted me into politics, got it. He was the only candidate of that party in the general election. There was no MCS in Azimio. There were no MPs. There were no governors. Read the Political Parties Act. It says, Mr. Speaker, defend me from
pursuing an argument.
No, I'm pursuing an argument. You will have your time. No, Mr. Speaker, you can't shout. You can't shout when I'm on my feet. No.
Order, Honorable Chonga.
Mr. Speaker, he has many.
Honorable Chonga, I believe you're a first termer. Second term. Okay. Then you should know even better that the order, Honorable Chonga.
Speaker is talking.
Honorable Chonga, there are your colleagues here who are here for the first time, and they are looking to you to learn on how to conduct yourself. It's out of order to stand up and shout at your colleague across the aisle. You seek the Speaker's permission, then you pursue a counter argument. But you do not stand up and behave in a rally situation, which I said we shouldn't have.
Mr. Speaker, because I have been very much interrupted, we'll give you about 3 more minutes. Mr. Speaker, I want you to also, I invite you to work.
I give you 2 minutes.
I want to invite you to whether the exit clause in the post-election agreement has any basis. So, Speaker, I looked at the Political Parties Act 2011. There is nowhere that will stop PA and these other parties from exiting. Let my colleagues tell me which section. Mr. Speaker, you need to look at whether, Speaker, some are telling you that the matter is sub judice. I agree. But Mr. Speaker, Standing Order 89.5 allows you as a speaker to allow this House to discuss a matter that is in court. We are within the parameters of law. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the Speaker use the Constitution. Use Article 108. This matter is very serious. Forget about coalitions, Mr. Speaker. Deal with the political parties. If you have got 84 members, that is your share as ODM. If you have 145 members, that is a share given to you by the people of Kenya UDA. If you have got 5 or 10, like Kanu, Kamket has left, now you are less shares. If you are par, there are 3. They want to enjoy their freedom. Mr. Speaker, during your predecessor, he made a ruling on a matter concerning Honorable David Ochieng. When David Ochieng was elected in a small party and coming from ODM stronghold, they refused to give him. That time they were called NASA. You know, they mutate. I'm in this house. From CORD to NASA to Azimio, the mutation and the turnover is so high. You know, it's so high, Mr. Speaker. I don't know what they will be, but Mr. Speaker, the Speaker ruled that Ochieng must be given a committee. The Speaker defend power members. They have the rights under Article 38. So Speaker, do not look at agreements signed by you. You are at one time, the Speaker, on a lighter note, you were even at one time about to join Azimio. But God forbid, you are a good Christian. You didn't join. The Speaker.
Order, Honorable Duale. Order, Honorable Duale. No member shall use Mr. Speaker to advance an argument. The Honorable John Badi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me first start by saying that I think we have started in the right direction. Why do I say so? Mr. Speaker, by allowing members to ventilate on this matter, to me comes out very clearly that Mr. Speaker wants to benefit from opinions or contributions by members from across the political divide. Mr. Speaker, there are certain things that are not in contention. What is not in contention is, one, that both Kenya Kwanza coalition and Azimio One Kenya Alliance coalition are not in dispute on who should lead the two coalitions. That there is just one letter coming from Kenya Kwanza nominating Kimani Ichung'wah as the leader, Owen Baya as the deputy, Honorable Soro as the whip, and of course my great sister as the deputy whip. Again, or from the Azimio side, there is no dispute. The leader is Opiyo Wandayi, James Opiyo Wandayi, deputized by Mbui. The whip is Junet Mohammed, to be deputized by Sabina Chege. So that matter is settled. Both sides are clear on who should lead them. So the issue of minutes appended, attached, copies to be provided or submitted to the House rests there. Because unless there was contention as to who has been nominated by either side, then we would be discussing whether there are minutes, there are addendum or whatever it is. So having settled that, Mr. Speaker, what therefore is in contention in this House is which side is the majority. That is where we see the argument from Kimani Ichung'wah and his team, and Opiyo Wandayi and his team arguing. Now, Mr. Speaker, the Constitution is not ambiguous. Article 108 talks about the leader of majority being the leader of the party or coalition of parties which has the majority membership in this House. Since it is clear, then what is not clear? What is being disputed here is which these two coalitions, which has the majority membership. Now, I have heard the argument that we passed a law in this House that has created chaos or caused chaos. Nothing could be further from the truth, Mr. Speaker. Let us accept the legal framework that we have. We might have been used to the old framework, but what we created at the House was where we can have a political party with corporate membership, and therefore, basically, is a coalition political party and coalition of parties. Mr. Speaker, if you want to argue that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya is a political party and not a coalition of political parties, the question you will want to ask or address yourself to is, what are the legal provisions for registering a political party? The legal provisions are clear. You must have 24,000 members, at least 1,000 from majority of our counties, which are 24. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya land was exempted from that. Why? Because it is a corporate political party. Mr. Speaker, when you say that this is not a coalition, the next question you will ask, where in this country, of the 47 counties, does Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance has a registered party office? None. Yet that is a requirement in law to register a political party. The reason why Azimio was accepted to be registered is because it is a corporate political party. So the moment ODM, Wiper, Jubilee, KANU, etc. have registered offices, then Azimio la Umoja, in effect, has registered offices. Mr. Speaker, it is in that same reasoning why Raila Amolo Odinga, when he was presenting his papers to IEBC, was cleared, because there was a requirement that he should present signatures of proposers and supporters. And those signatures must be from members of your political party. Azimio la Umoja does not have even a single direct membership. And therefore, Raila was cleared, having been supported by members of KANU, members of Wiper, members of ODM, members of Jubilee. Therefore, those members of KANU, members of ODM, members of Jubilee are all members of Azimio la Umoja as a corporate entity. The moment you are a member of ODM, by extension, you are also a member of Azimio la Umoja political party. Therefore, this reasoning that there is no member in this house who is a member of Azimio is faulty. You cannot. There is a gentleman in this house. His name is Junet Sheikh Nur Mohammed. This gentleman is the Secretary General of Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Coalition. And he's representing the people of Suna East. And then you come here and argue, and he's registered with registered political parties as the Secretary General. Then you come here and you want to say that Azimio la Umoja does not even have a single member of parliament. That completely is misrepresentation of facts. Mr. Speaker, Azimio la Umoja was exempted from provisions of Section 5 and Section 6 of the Political Parties Act. Why? Because this is a corporate political entity, political party, which has corporate membership. And that is why we were amending the law here, so that you could provide a situation where a political party is both a political party where you can be a member directly, and at the same time, political parties can be members of that political party. And that is the situation as it obtains today. You can take advantage of it and dissolve all, and make sure that all your political parties are also collapsed into one mega or a bigger political outfit called Kenya Kwanza, without having to just have it as coalition of political parties. Mr. Speaker, you know, Azimio la Umoja is based on coalition agreement, just like any other coalition, like Kenya Kwanza. It is based on coalition agreement. And Mr. Speaker, I listened very carefully, and I was trying to avoid usage of these words, but I'll use it. I'll use them, because Honorable Soro did use them. Honorable Soro was saying that you cannot stop a political party from going to bed with another one. that if someone has married another person, you cannot stop that person from going to bed. Yes, you can't stop anybody from going to bed with another, but you can stop another marriage before the earlier marriage is dissolved. So someone can go to bed as they so wish,
Yes,
but marriage only
Order,
subsists.
Sorry, Honorable Mbadi, there's a point of order. Give him the mic. There it is.
Oh, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Mbadi is my mentor. I do not really want to interrupt. But I now see that this may progress and progress and progress. We have parliamentary language. And that language is using that marriage going into bed, though earlier used by us parliamentary. So please, we could restrain ourselves from that. I'm very sorry, Honorable Mbadi, but you are a seasoned member. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I think Honorable Mboko is uncomfortable with the language, but the language is not unparliamentary. Going to bed is just going to bed. And marriage is marriage. But what I'm saying is you cannot start another marriage until you wind up the previous marriage. So, Honorable Soro, you should advise your new, what do you call them, the new whatever, to make sure that the other marriage is concluded first. But, Mr. Speaker, there was an argument here by Honorable Duale, which you allow me to challenge, that there is something unconstitutional about what we have done in terms of making agreements. There is nothing unconstitutional. Article 92 of the Constitution allows Parliament to enact legislation to provide for the regulation of political parties. And in doing that, we created Political Parties Act, which gave rise within the Act to the agreements. Finally, Mr. Speaker, allow me to say this. As you protect the rights of those members of PAR, MDG, and others who want to leave Azimio, remember there is also the rights of people of Ugenya who elected Uchieng, knowing very well that he was Azimio, and he has not consulted them. So whose right is superior? Is it the on to Kenya?
Your
to
time
him.
is up for the Honorable John Mbadi. From now going forward, thank you, Honorable Mbadi. Allow me to regulate your time down to 5 minutes per member. Are we in agreement? I'll give the floor to the Honorable David Ocheng.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would request for 10 because my name has been mentioned so many times, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on this particular matter...
compress your arguments in 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, on this particular matter, I wrote to your office on the 9th of September, Mr. Speaker, about our position in Azimio, having left the coalition party and joined Kenya Kwanza, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have that letter here and I would like to table it. Mr. Speaker, the reasons for our leaving Azimio are very instructive because so much has been said about us and how the marriage was done, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, after the elections, the MDG NEC sat and reviewed the campaigns and our children Azimio La Umoja, Mr. Speaker. And members brought the following issues. One, that in the former Nyanza, the Azimio leadership was so hostile to the MDG members running in that party, they were called Madoa-doa. They were told that Azimio ends in Awasi, that when you come from Nairobi and you get to Awasi, you now leave Azimio is dead, it's ODM stronghold, Mr. Speaker. This same thing happened in my constituency.